taillights, but normally I always kind of see the same issue. So today I'm gonna make a video on how to tint your taillights. So first off, I start with the film rolled up like this, and I like to roll it on California roll. Some people call it other things, backing roll. But you just tack it on one side and come across. So start things out. Every taillight's a little bit different, and so it just kind of depends on the taillight. But normally I like to find my flat surface, and I like to kind of get all that nice and tacked down, just because it doesn't need much stretch or it doesn't have much going on. So get all this stuff tacked down. And I do want to tack up here because I don't want the film falling over on itself. I'll give it a little bit of heat to kind of make sure it's held down. Okay. So a very common issue that I see with taillights is this right here. You know, they're kind of, maybe they started all the way over here and they worked all this down, but now they're stuck with all these fingers and they're basically all kind of coming up here. That's basically created from the curve of the taillight. So this body line right here creates all of these fingers. So what you need to remove out these vertical fingers is some horizontal stretch. And basically you need to do that evenly enough to where you're not going to get a huge line right here, or you're not doing it in this little section and you're just overstretching it in this little area. You want to get this stretch across the whole taillight. So I already have my edge right here tacked down. Basically, like I said, most of the flat surface. And then I'm gonna grab my heat gun. I wanna make sure I get this all very heated, even up here, because I want all of this film to stretch out. So even if your top's not cold, you're not gonna get the same stretch. So start off, pull your film up to where your kind of fingers are. And then all you're gonna do is you're just gonna kind of heat them all up, or heat all the film up, just evenly back and forth. You wanna make sure it's pliable, but not too hot, because you don't wanna overstretch the film. So it's hard to tell you what that is, but normally a few inches away and a couple passes by. And now what I wanna do is I wanna stretch out, and also I wanna spread the film open a little bit. So as I'm coming around, I'm just keeping the film totally flat and some tension on the film. I'm gonna tack it down here so it doesn't go anywhere. I have some fingers this way, so I'm just gonna pop them up and down. This will all go away with a little bit of heat. This one right here also go away with some heat. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to heat up the vinyl. Okay. Now you're good to squeegee out everything that's glassed. So glassing is basically this right here. Everything's nice and flat. Go ahead and squeegee it all down. I have a little more of an aggressive finger here, so same kind of thing, we'll pop it up and come down with it. So as you're kind of getting here, you'll notice that your film is not really like staying all the way down. It has a little bit of tension on it, stuff like that. I always like, you know, I'll go back and make sure all this is heated down. I'll kind of go back, heat it all up, and then I'll come back through and I'll actually lift the vinyl to that area and lay it in. That right there is going to take some of the tension off. Kind of do that on the bottom here. What this is doing is it's taking some of the tension off the vinyl around your edge. I mean, the edge is one of the most important parts because you want it to hold and look good. So I like to go through and tuck kind of some of this in, and I'll go back with the heat gun and kind of watch. It's just gonna, since we have all that stretch around, it's just gonna kind of suck itself in. I'll do the same thing to the top here. As you see, none of this is tacked down here. So I'm basically just having no tension on this outside area, and I'm just kind of letting it relax into there, even though it does have some stretch on it. We'll go ahead and hit it with the post heat. And as you can see, that all shrunk down. That actually sucked itself back because we had the tension across the film. And so as you see, you're heating it, you can actually see this film move. You have a lot of tension on the film. And that's okay. I mean, you didn't discolor it or anything like that. But what you want to make sure to do is you want to shock the film again. So the film is used to being on a flat surface in a roll, whatever it was. So you want to post heat this. All the films are different temperatures. I normally just post heat it till I don't really see it moving anymore. With this film specifically, I like to go a little bit further than that, so I'll do it a couple of times. So important, what I like to do, a tip, is post heat before you cut and after you cut. A lot of people will get to this point, you know, they're all right, we're tacked down, we're good to go. They'll go ahead and cut all this, then they'll go in with their post heat. The problem with that is say this wants to pull back, now I don't have anything to grab onto and fix that. So here I'll go on the post heat. All the post heat is really is I'm just heating the vinyl up, making sure it's nice and hot and it's not gonna move on me. So I like to do this just a few times, pass back and forth a few times. They are plastic, so you kind of got to be a little mindful not to get them too hot. But mainly I'll just go around the edges. And as you see, I don't see any of the film moving here. I see some, but that's off the car. And just because this area is tacked down doesn't mean it doesn't have tension. So you want to make sure to post heat everything. So now my post heat's done. I'm going to run my squeegee back through one more time. And now I'm good to trim away all this extra. Normally also another tip is this right here gets very tight. You can use plastic razor blades if you want on these, just so you don't cut the car. I just do this a lot, so I'll go ahead and just use my blade. So if you are going to use a blade, just pop a little bit in and be very careful around this area because sometimes you can cut the quarter panel. I've seen it happen. I just have very little amount of blade out. So okay, so now you're all trimmed and ready to go. I'll come through here with the squeegee, kind of get those edges already wrapping around before I hit them with some heat. Okay, now you got all your edges tucked, and then again, I will go back with one more post heat. Post heat again is just getting it nice and hot, making sure it's not gonna move or anything like that. I saw a little bit move right there. That's just because it wasn't tucked back. So I'll go ahead and I'll put my nail back there and make sure it's all tucked. Go back again, same thing. Now we're not having anything move. We'll hit the whole tail light. And this is important because the second that this taillight goes out in the sun, it'll get warmed up and hot, and that's whenever you're gonna see this pull back and fingers and everything like that. Now it's nice and hot, I'll kind of go back, make sure everything's tucked back there nicely. Don't want any water or dirt getting back there. So that's pretty much how you tint your taillight. Like I said, the most important thing is getting that even stretch across the taillight. Not only are you pulling this way, but you're also gonna be pulling basically kind of apart and like kind of pull your fingers out. So as you're stretching around, you're pulling outwards and across. So it's the biggest issue that I see with the taillights is fingers here and here sometimes because you're overstretching it. So this is Luxe headlight taillight film. Probably one of my